So, funnily enough, I just found out that we were getting another season of this show yesterday when I opened up my Apple TV to find something to watch. But when I did see that the show was indeed coming back for a second season, I was fairly happy about it. But then I asked myself, given how season one of the show ended, did we really need a second season? And after rewatching the first season in its totality, I ultimately decided that shows like this, that being shows that play like a mini, but end with what I like to call a soft conclusion, can indeed support a second go round, narratively speaking. Now, this show reminds me a lot of Big Little Lies in that at the beginning of the story, someone is dead. And then the story rewinds to a point in the past and we find out who did it and why. But like Big Little Lies, which also got a second season, if you remember, the other half of the story is, do they get away with it or not? Now, make no mistake, my man John Paul was an asshat of epic proportions. And he definitely deserved to be divorced. And maybe even in prison for some of the stuff that he apparently did, stuff we didn't actually see, but that they said he did. Though I'm not quite sure he deserved to die, and certainly not without someone being held responsible for his murder. So what interests me most about the second season of this show is finding out whether the Bad Sisters will pay in any meaningful way for the many attempted murders of John Paul, and where Grace is concerned for actually succeeding in the task. But season 2 starts off in similar fashion to that of the pilot, a full 2 years after the drama went down, leading me to believe that the sisters haven't really learned very much from last season. Now, the sisters are being pressed on two fronts here. On the one hand, the police find John Paul's father's body in the lake near the house, which makes them open up that whole John Paul can of worms all over again. And on the other, old boy Robert clearly feels bad about his role in helping Grace cover up the deed, which Angelica also seems to suspect the sisters of something as well. And 2 episodes into the season, the pressure at least appears to have had a devastating impact on Grace. And, we'll see exactly what that leads to as the season progresses. Now, all of this leads me to surmise that not only have the sisters remained relatively unchanged by their murder plot from last season, but that the writers may indeed be paving the way for even more seasons of this show, which I think would be a mistake from a narrative standpoint. Because at this point, we have the answers to the biggest questions in this story. Who killed John Paul and why? And now, the only thing we really care about before we put this whole thing to bed is whether or not the Bad Sisters get away with it.